Hi everyone, it's Christine here from Christine's Stampin' Spot. I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and today we're going to be making this fun Halloween card that you see here. We're going to be doing some fun inking and stamping and punching to create this cute card today. The main focus of this card will be the Spooky Sweets bundle, which includes the Spooky Sweets stamp set from Stampin' Up!, which is new from the 2018 holiday catalog, as well as the coordinating bat punch, which coordinates, of course, with the stamped bats here, and also with the coordinating designer series paper that comes with the Halloween sets in the holiday catalog. You can purchase this together as a bundle, or you can purchase them separately. If you purchase the punch and stamp set together as a bundle, you do save 10%. Another stamp set that we are going to be using for this card is the Sheltering Tree stamp set, which is in the annual catalog, and we're just going to be using the tree from that particular stamp set. One more thing I wanted to point out, the moon and the star from this stamp set also coordinate with another punch that's in our annual catalog, and that's this moon and stars punch here. Now this punch can be purchased alone, or it does coordinate with this little twinkle stamp set, which is really sweet in the annual catalog. And so this punch coordinates with this. Again, you could buy both of these separately, but they do come together as a bundle, saving 10% if you prefer. So we're going to be using this punch for some stars and the moon as well with this card. Finally, we're going to be using a die to create the fun little spooky fence that you see here. And that is a die set from the Farmhouse Framelit dies. It's a die from that set, I should say. This is an awesome set that coordinates with our beautiful stamp set in the new the new holiday catalog, but we're just going to be using this fun little fence die today for today's card. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and stamp our spooky tree to get it in place, and then we'll do all of our inking. Okay, so let's go ahead and grab a piece of Whisper Away cardstock. I cut mine to 3 1/4 by 4 1/4. I'm going to grab some scratch paper as well as my Stampin' Pierce mat, because the Sheltering Tree stamp set, which the tree stamp comes from, is photopolymer. So we want a little bit of extra cushioning underneath our stamping surface. I'm going to grab my Memento Tuxedo black ink, and I already have the tree image down on my acrylic block here. So let's go ahead and get our tree nice and inked up with our black Memento ink. I just re-inked this, so hopefully we'll get a really nice and crisp image. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp my tree sort of left of center with a couple of tiny little bits of branches coming off the paper, which is why I have this scratch paper down. So right about here, it really doesn't matter where you put your tree, you just want to put it left of center as opposed to right of center, because we're going to have our moon over here. So I'm just going to go ahead now and stamp this down. Push evenly around, making sure I have good even coverage. All right, and now I'm just going to lift this up, and there's our spooky tree. Very cute. I'm going to go ahead and clean this stamp off real quick. My Stampin' Scrub's up here off camera. So we'll clean that image, that stamp rather off, and now we can go ahead and for now close up your Memento black ink, and then we're going to grab 2 ink pads to ink our background. We're done with our Stampin' Pierce mat, so you can set that aside, but I'm going to keep the scratch paper since I'm going to be doing a lot of inking. The 2 main colors for the inking are going to be Night of Navy and Gorgeous Grape, and we're going to start with our lightest color, which is the Gorgeous Grape. To do inking like this for backgrounds, I use a Stampin' sponge. They come like this in packs of 3, and as you can see, I cut mine up into 4s, so you get 3 of this sized sponge in the kit. And so I cut mine into 4 pieces, and so they're little pie pieces, and then I just staple a piece of the coordinating colored cardstock on top and staple it down and write on it what it is. So I can reuse these until these sponges kind of fall apart and then I can't use them anymore, but I usually get quite a bit of use out of them before I have to replace them. Some I haven't replaced in years, to be perfectly honest, because of course this isn't a technique you do every day, so you know, your sponges should last for quite some time. All right, so I'm going to start with the Gorgeous Grapes. You're just going to get a little bit of ink on your sponge. I'm going to start off the paper on my scratch paper and then come in and cover up the entirety of this Whisper White panel with my Gorgeous Grape ink. It's going to start off looking absolutely, whoa, Sorry about that, guys. My ink pad holder here just fell over. Let me just fix this. I'm sorry about that. Okay. That's crazy that that happened. All right, so it's gonna look ridiculous at first, but only after we get these two colors mixed together on the paper will it look absolutely stunning. So just stick with me. I promise you this is gonna turn out really pretty. So we're just gonna keep going. We're gonna get lots of purple down. I'm turning it as I go just to sort of help me get around the paper here, the cardstock. And I'm just coating this with some gorgeous grape. I'm gonna go ahead and open my Night of Navy now. I have obviously a separate sponge for that. I'm gonna get that nice and inked up. Again, I'm gonna start off the paper and I'm just gonna come in and just add some of this randomly around I'm gonna just go a little bit in, leaving quite a bit of the gorgeous grape in the center. See how I'm doing that? I'm just sort of coming in. I'm not going all the way back over everything we just did with the gorgeous grape. So I'm putting a lot of this Night of Navy down here. We really want the edges of the paper to be dark, so when it shades into the purple, there's a noticeable difference of shading. It just kind of looks kind of cool and makes the lighter purple color really pop as well. So I'm just going to keep going. I'm just putting ink on top of ink. I'm going to grab my gorgeous grape sponge again. We don't want to lose too much of the grape color, so it never hurts to go back in with the color again and repeat the process. It might take a couple extra minutes, but it's really worth it in my opinion at the end, because not only do you just add more beautiful color and texture, but you're getting these colors blended so beautifully on this Whisper White cardstock. It really is amazing how it kind of blends like magic. It starts off looking so awful and then it turns into something so beautiful, and I love that. You just have to stick with it and you'll get it. It's beautiful. All right, so now I'm coming back in one more time with some of this darker Night of Navy, just to create this fun night sky here. We are almost done. This is looking really good. I'm happy with this. Okay, with that, I'm gonna close up the Night of Navy and Gorgeous Grape ink pads, and then I'll pull this up to the camera so you can really see how fun this sky looks. Excuse my inky fingers. I've been working on inking projects all day today, so my fingers are kind of messy. So here's our fun little inked background here. Super easy to do. I'm going to go ahead and actually just turn my scratch paper over, because what I want to do next is I'm going to take this fun grungy kind of image right here from the Spooky Sweet stamp set, and we're going to add to this background by grabbing our Memento Tuxedo Black ink again and that stamp. Let me just get that on an acrylic block. Now these stamps are clear mount. You could also buy them in wood if you prefer. I prefer clear mount. They're easier to store. They're a little bit less expensive and they just stick right on your acrylic blocks, but we do have the wood option if you prefer. I'm going to add some texture to this sky by simply inking up this textury, grungy look and stamping it a few places around my sky. I'm not going to go crazy, but as you can see in the finished card, we just have a few of these little speckles throughout our sky, and I just thought it was a fun look. So I'm going to stick one right about there. And again, this is why I have scratch paper, because I'm going to have some of these off the paper and some on. I'm going to put some, again, you don't want to have it everywhere and go crazy. You just want a little bit of texture in your sky. And I'm just going to do two more, a little bit right there. As you can see, some of these I barely have the stamp on the paper, and then just a tiny bit right there. And I'm actually, I think, going to flip it and put just a little tiny bit up here in this upper left corner. That looks really good. I'm happy with that, so I'm going to go ahead and clean that stamp off and then close up my Memento ink for now. Okay, so here's our spooky tree panel, and we'll be adding to this, of course, but for now we can set this aside. The next step is we want to grab just a scrap piece of Whisper White cardstock, whatever you have. You don't need a fancy piece or a specific piece or size, just enough that'll fit our bat stamp. So I'm going to grab mine, and then I'm going to go ahead and grab my little bat stamp. Now, before I stamp down, whenever I'm using a punch, I like to look at the orientation of the punch on the back. In other words, how does it punch when I have this punch in action? And as you can see, it punches the three bats with them being upside down. So that's how I'm going to stamp them. I just find that that will save me some paper and some time in terms of being able to get them punched out very quickly and nice and lined up. So I'm going to ink the bats up with my Memento Tuxedo Black ink again. And then we are just going to stamp these down right here on top of this Whisper White cardstock. I'm worried that's not big enough, so I'm going to just use another strip here. And there are our 3 upside down bats. And of course, this is what they will look like when they are right side up. Okay, so I'm going to clean the bat image off really quickly, and then go ahead and grab your punch. The way that our punches open is we have this dark or gray button on the back. You simply slide it up and now your punch is ready to go. And then when you're done, you slide the button back down and close it, and then it stores flat, which is really cool. So now you're just going to stick your cardstock in, since we stamped these upside down to align with the way that the punch is oriented on the back. It's really easy to line these up. Just line them up with the back of your punch and then simply punch. And then your bats go flying everywhere. But here they are. Here's all 3 little bats punched out. All right, so that is, we are done now with our bat punch, which coordinates with this stamp set. Look at these cute bats. I just love them. I love them. They're so cute. Okay, so I'm going to set the bats aside. And the next thing that we do is we're going to grab a smaller strip of Whisper White cardstock. We're going to grab the little moon image from the Spooky Sweet stamp set, and we're going to grab our Mango Melody ink pad. And all I'm going to do is simply take this image, get it nice and inked up in the Mango Melody ink, and then stamp it down on the Whisper White like that. So now we have our little crescent moon. And then we're going to take that coordinating punch I was telling you about of the moon and stars that's in the annual catalog, this one right here, and we're just going to punch out that moon. So you just turn it over, get it nice and lined up here with the back of your punch. You can peer right through and see it's super easy to do. Hopefully you guys are seeing on camera how easy this is to do. It is so easy. Working with punches is awesome. It's quick and easy. All right, and then we're just going to punch it down once I have it exactly where I want it here. Let's see. Perfect. Okay, punch it down, and here's our little crescent moon. Now, as you see, you also get a bunch of little stars that come out, and there's also some circles that come out, and you can make cute shaker cards if you saved this confetti. What we're going to do next is we're going to make us some Orangie Stars. So just grab some scrap Mango Melody cardstock. And I just want these, just a few stars here. I'm going to punch all of this because I want a couple different sizes of stars. So just punch it down. And you can save whatever you don't use if you want to. I generally do. I have a little dish that I save little cutouts in that I can then later use for shaker cards. So you can save whatever you want, or just throw it away, whatever you prefer. I'm probably not going to save the moon, because I don't have a project in mind for it right at the moment. But anyway, you can save whatever you want, like I said. So we are almost all done with our stamping. The last thing that we would do is we would take a little tiny strip of Mango Melody cardstock, which I've cut here into a tiny square, and we're going to stamp the Happy Halloween sentiment in Memento Tuxedo Black ink, right just centered in this little more of a rectangle than a square, but pretty close to a square. To save some time, I already went ahead and did that, so that's done. So now we are done with our stamping, and it's time to put this fun card together. Let's move our scrap paper out of the way and bring over all of the supplies that we're going to need to finish this card up. I have a piece of gorgeous grape cardstock. It's an A2 sized card base that I have cut. It's 8.5 by 5.5. It's scored at 4 1/4. And I have a little piece of designer series paper here from the Toil and Trouble designer series paper that coordinate with all of our Halloween items in the holiday catalog. So I'm just going to go ahead and adhere this to the card base. By the way, this is the fun bat paper. That's the reverse side of this, and the punch, actually, let me just show you. I obviously won't be punching it out, but you can actually finagle this paper just so, as you can see there, and it coordinates with the punch. So you could punch the bats out of the paper with this punch as well if you wanted to. All right, but for today, I just wanted to stamp the bats. I really love how the stamp set has the little lines through the bats. It's just really cool. I love the look, so I wanted to stamp my bats today. All right, so we're just going to center this piece of designer series paper, which, by the way, is cut at 5 1/4 by 4. And we have that nice and centered there. Okay. We also, since this is a dark card base here, we're going to want to put a little piece of Whisper White cardstock in there so we can write our fun little Halloween message. So I just cut one to 5 1/4 by 4, and we'll just stick that right inside, just center that right inside there to write our message. Okay. Now we can set this aside for a moment. And let's bring our little card panel back in. Again, this measured 4 1/4 by 3 1/4. I cut a piece of Mango Melody to layer behind this, and I cut the Mango Melody at 5 1/2 by 4 1/2. So let's go ahead and put some adhesive on the back of our beautiful stamped scene here with our spooky tree. And then we'll center that right in the center here of this Mango Melody cardstock. There we go, nice and centered. Okay, the next thing that we want to do is just get our little elements that we've stamped and punched in place. So let's start with our moon, so we kind of get that in place here. And the moon, I'm just going to grab some scrap paper really quickly and just glue it straight. I'm not flush to the card. I'm not going to pop the little moon. We will be popping the bats though. So let's see here. So we've got our moon, and I'm going to bring this little panel back over here, and I think I'm going to stick the moon in the upper right corner here. How about like so? Right about there, like that. Okay. Now I want to put a couple stars down. Remember, that came from the same punch. So I'm again just using a Zig glue pen because it's really quick. You could use glue dots or any other glue that you may have. And I'm just going to stick these kind of randomly. I'm only going to use 3, I think. The large size, and then 2 of the small size stars. So again, I'm just adding a little bit of glue to the back here and just sticking them. There's no right or wrong. You can put them anywhere you want. Think of them like sequins or rhinestones and other little extras that I often use on my cards. Same idea. No right or wrong place to put your embellishments. You just kind of want them scattered throughout the card to give it a little fun extra look. All right, so that's what I'm going to do with my stars. Now with my bats, what I'm going to do is grab some mini dimensionals, and let's start with our bats. And I think I want to do the biggest one first just to get him nice and positioned in place. So I'm going to flip him over and then grab a couple mini mini dimensionals. I love these things. Of course, if you don't have mini dimensionals, you can just cut your regular dimensionals into smaller pieces, which is what I used to do all the time. But these is just so convenient to have these. And I'm still working on my first pack of mini dimensionals, believe it or not. They've lasted me months and months and months, so well worth it in my opinion. So I'm just going to put him there, again, randomly, no right or wrong. I'm going to take the next bat, and again, just place the little mini dimensionals at the widest part of the bat so that they don't peek through. This one I actually need to move. Let me move that mini dimensional just a little bit. There we go. We just don't want it to show from the front. Peel off the backings, and then him I'm going to put a little bit over the moon like so, and then finally we'll take our tiniest little bat and one little mini dimensional, and then I'm just going to put him over here by our tree. Next, I'm going to take this fence die, which again is from the Farmhouse Framelit dies. Now to save time, I already went ahead and punched it, or ran it through my Big Shot and cut it out. But the sandwich that you want for this, and I will also have this on my blog, and by the way, in the description box of this video below will be a link to my blog where I will have links to all the products used to create today's card, as well as measurements, Big Shot sandwiches, etc. Everything you need to know to create today's card. But just to let you know, the sandwich that I did use to cut this out is the standard standard base plate, the thin die adapter, the precision base plate, your paper, your die face down on top of your paper, and then a standard cutting plate, and run it through, and then it pops right out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my scratch paper over again, because I'm just going to use some glue here quickly just to get this done fast. Okay, so I got this nice and glued on the back. I'm going to put my scratch paper back, and now we're just going to line this up along the bottom here. We're going to scooch it under our bat, like so, and then just press it down, let that glue stick to the paper underneath it. And now it's a little bit over, and I actually shouldn't have adhered my Mango Melody. I forgot this part. I shouldn't have adhered the Mango Melody yet because I need to trim off just this little tiny bit here. So I'm just going to peel it up slightly and just trim off I just need to trim off this one little, the last little post there to make it fit perfectly on this piece of cardstock. So there we go. There's our fun little fence. And now I'm going to add my little sentiment with just a regular dimensional here. Happy Halloween. And that's just going to go right here on the first little section of the fence here on the right side. Okay, so this panel is done. Let's bring our card base back over. I'm going to flip this panel over. I'm going to grab some more dimensionals so this panel has a little bit of a pop. And then peel the backings off. All right, and then we're just going to center this here on top of this designer series paper on our card front. And then the very last step is we're going to grab some of this beautiful black sparkly ribbon, which is in the holiday catalog with the Halloween supplies. It's beautiful in person. It just glitters and sparkles like crazy. It's lovely. I'm going to cut some off here. And I'm just going to tie a quick little bow across the top of this card front here. I'm going to have my bow be on the left side since we kind of have a little bit of busyness on the right side with the moon. So I'm just going to tie it over here on the left. Just a normal little bow, nothing special. I cut way too much ribbon, didn't I? Totally did not need to cut that much. All right, so I'm just tying a regular little bow here. Nothing fancy. Pull it tight, and then you can adjust it by pulling on the tails to make the little ears of the bow as small or as big as you want. I'm going to grab a little mini glue dot here. I like to place little mini glue dots when I run ribbons like this right in the center of the ribbon so it doesn't go sliding around the top of your card. And then we can just trim the little tails of the ribbon to an appropriate length that we like. And that is it, guys. That is this sweet, simple little Halloween card. I love how we have the ability with these products to just use a whole bunch of different products to create such fun little scenes with our cards. Love it, love it, love it. And what kid would not want to get a Halloween card like this? Or heck, what adult wouldn't want to get a Halloween card like this, am I right? So anyway, I hope that you enjoyed today's card. I will be doing another video today with my online card class, and it will be using this bundle, this Spooky Sweets stamp set with the coordinating punch. So if you'd like to make more cards like this or with just fun little bats and Halloween images, make sure to sign up for my next class and check back later today for a video about that class. All right, guys, that's it. Thank you guys so much as always for stopping by, and I will catch you in the next video. Thanks. Bye-bye.